Ever get that feeling like you need to get up to speed on something like really quickly?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, sometimes you're heading into a meeting or
Right, or there's this like new thing that's happening in a field that you follow and you just want to
you need the breakdown, like
yeah, just cut through all the noise and be like, okay, this is
yeah,
what matters. This is what's important.
exact.
That's what we do here. And today we're tackling something that that you sent us
Yeah,
actually,
it's a good one.
which is this awesome YouTube video with Arnold Schwarzenegger
The one and only.
talking about like his blueprint for building serious muscle. I mean,
It's a classic.
it's amazing.
What I think is so fascinating about this right away is that it comes from this world of competitive bodybuilding.
Right.
I mean, we're talking about a 28-year-old Arnold who's already a 5-time Mr. Olympiad at this point,
Oh, yeah.
and he's preparing to defend his title.
Wow.
But what he's talking about in this video, it's not just for guys who are going to be on stage. Like, this is a masterclass in how to train effectively to build muscle
Exactly.
and to understand how your body responds to different kinds of stress.
That's what's so cool about this, I think, is that whether you are dreaming of, posing on a stage,
Right.
or you just want to add some strength and definition, like this wisdom is surprisingly universal.
Oh, yeah.
So our mission, if we choose to accept it today, is to dive deep with Arnold into his like fundamental training and nutritional philosophies for muscle growth.
I'm in.
Let's do it. Okay.
Let's just do it.
One of the things that he emphasizes right out of the gate
Oh, yeah?
is the importance of basic exercises.
Yes. He lists off movements like squats, 2-arm curls, bend over rows, clean and press,
Oh, yeah.
bench press, incline press, dumbbell press.
All those good ones.
The staples. The staples.
Yeah, and he really stresses that, these were the bedrock of his training, particularly like leading into a competition.
Right.
And there's almost this like sense of lament in the video where he talks about how some of these really foundational exercises,
Oh, yeah.
particularly he mentioned the clean and press
Yeah.
and the 2-arm snatch and even like upward rowing from the floor, which he credits with building his traps and lower back,
Right.
seem to be kind of disappearing from gyms.
Right. It's like, where'd they go?
Yeah, I know. It makes you wonder if sometimes we get so caught up in, all the latest gadgets and trends.
Bells and whistles.
Yeah, that we lose sight of the power of those tried and true basics.
Well, and what Arnold's highlighting is that these compound movements
Yeah.
are just so efficient.
Yeah.
Like, think about a squat.
Right.
You're not just working your legs.
Totally.
Your core is engaged. Your
Yeah.
back's involved. Like, your whole body is working.
Right. It's the ultimate.
Yeah, and they just give you the most bang for your buck in terms of overall muscle development and strength.
I see. So this is like laying the foundation.
This is it. Yeah.
With those basic exercises.
Exactly.
And then he moves into this really fascinating concept
Yeah.
that he calls shocking the muscle.
Oh, yeah. Shocking the muscle.
And this is all about how to break through those plateaus, right? Like
Right.
those times when your body seems to have adapted.
It's gotten complacent.
Yeah, and your progress just grinds to a halt.
You're stuck. You hit that wall.
So tell us about shocking the muscle.
So the core idea here is that you're preventing your body from getting too comfortable with your routine.
I see.
So it's about introducing like novel stimuli, changes in your intensity volume,
Yeah,
the exercises that you're doing,
I see.
that your muscles just aren't expecting.
They sort of shake things up.
Exactly. It forces them to adapt and grow.
Okay.
And Arnold gives this really vivid example of how he would shock his chest.
Okay.
So instead of like, a typical progression,
Right.
he'd start with a really heavy weight, like let's say 315 pounds for 20 reps,
Oh, wow.
and then immediately drop the weight to 225 pounds for 10 reps,
Okay.
and then follow that by 135 pounds for another 10 to 15, maybe even 20 reps, all without any rest in between.
That's a lot.
Oh,
So he's going from really heavy.
right down the ladder.
Yeah, and just like shocking the muscle as he goes.
Exactly.
It sounds pretty intense.
It is the way he describes it. The goal is almost to create this like controlled chaos in the muscle.
Wow.
He wants to create pain and cramping, which to him was a sign that he had truly challenged the muscle
Okay.
in a new way.
So it sounds like this is a pretty advanced technique.
It is.
Yeah.
We have to remember the context of Arnold's training.
Yeah.
I mean, he was operating at this elite level with incredibly ambitious goals.
Totally.
So while that exact shocking technique might not be appropriate or even safe
Right.
for everyone,
Definitely not.
the underlying principle of varying your training
I see.
to avoid adaptation is key for continued progress.
Okay. So that principle is universal.
Absolutely.
But the specific way that he's doing it is maybe not.
Exactly.
Okay, so for someone listening who's like, okay, I'm intrigued by this idea of shocking the muscle,
Right.
but I also don't want to hurt myself.
Right.
But would be like a more moderate way that they could apply that idea.
Yeah, so I think one of the keys is to think about like gradual changes to your routine.
Okay.
So, you could start by simply increasing the weight you're lifting
Okay.
by a small increment each week.
I see.
Or you could try adding an extra set to your exercises.
Okay.
You could also change the tempo of your lifts, like slowing down the eccentric or the lowering portion of a movement.
Okay.
Or even just incorporating some new exercises
I see.
that target the same muscle group from slightly different angles.
Okay. So there's a lot of different ways that you can apply that principle.
Exactly. It's about finding what works for you
I see.
and your fitness level.
Okay, cool. So
Right.
he's laid the foundation, right? He's talking about basic exercise, and then he's talking about how to kind of push past those plateaus with shocking the muscle.
Right.
Then he gets into like the specifics for each major muscle group.
Yeah.
So let's start with chest.
Okay.
He mentions that, his core chest routine consistently involved the bench press,
The class.
incline presses at different angles.
Yeah, he would do low, medium, and high.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then, of course, flies.
Flies.
What's so insightful here, though, is how much he emphasizes the technique for flies.
Oh, really?
It wasn't just about going through the motions.
Okay.
He really focused on achieving this deep stretch at the bottom of the movement,
I see.
almost letting the dumbbells touch the ground,
Okay.
and then getting a full, powerful contraction at the top.
So he's like really exaggerating that range of motion.
Absolutely. He even talks about flexing his pecs at the top
Mm-hmm.
as if he were hitting a bodybuilding pose.
Wow. Okay.
He believed that deep stretch and that complete contraction were just irreplaceable.
So for someone listening who's like, okay, I get it, I need to do flies,
Right.
but I'm not necessarily aiming for, that level of, bodybuilding pec development.
Right.
What's the key takeaway from Arnold's fly technique for them?
Yeah, I think the key is that focus on the quality of the movement.
Okay.
It's not just about how much weight you're lifting.
Right.
It's about making sure that you're feeling that stretch in your chest at the bottom
I see.
and that you're really squeezing your pecs at the top.
So it's almost like being more mindful during the exercise.
Exactly.
Yeah. I see. Okay, so moving on to back.
Back.
Sounds like his priority was building both thickness and width.
Yeah, he wanted it all.
He did, and for thickness, he specifically mentions bend-over barbell rowing,
Oh, yeah.
even doing it supported on a bench with up to 315 pounds,
Huge weight.
and T-bar rowing.
Another classic.
And then for developing that lower back definition,
Yeah.
he emphasized both stiff-legged and regular deadlifts.
Right.
And it's interesting he stresses doing those bend-over rows without any chest support.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
Why was that so important, do you think?
So by removing the chest support, you're basically forcing your lower back muscles
Okay.
to work a lot harder
I see.
to stabilize your torso
Okay.
throughout that rowing motion.
Okay.
And this extra engagement contributes to greater lower back development and definition.
I see. So it's almost like a sneaky way to work your lower back even more.
Yeah, a little
Yeah.
bonus.
Okay.
And his emphasis on needing thickness in all areas of the back.
Right.
Lower, upper, outer, and center.
It's like he's got this whole mental map of his back.
He does.
Really thinking about every single part of it.
It really underscores that you need a comprehensive approach to back training.
Okay.
You can't just focus on one area.
I see. So when it came to biceps,
Biceps.
sounds like it was all about going heavy.
Yeah, he loved those heavy weights.
He talks about barbell curls sometimes, starting with a weight so heavy he could only do 1 rep.
1 rep max style.
Yeah, and then immediately reducing the weight to perform more reps without ever setting the bar down.
Just keep going.
And he also loved incline dumbbell curls and concentration curls.
Oh, yeah.
Again, emphasizing using a significant amount of weight.
Even for those isolation movements.
Yeah, just to really build that peak.
That peak. Yeah.
So I'm noticing a pattern here with this idea of like starting super heavy,
Right.
doing 1 rep. Yeah.
Reducing the weight and then just kind of like cranking out more reps.
Yeah, that's another example of that shocking principle.
Oh, okay.
It keeps the muscle under constant tension,
Okay.
but with these varying levels of load, which stimulates growth in different muscle fibers.
Wow.
And, his distinction between the barbell curl for overall thickness,
Okay.
The incline dumbbell curl for targeting the upper biceps.
Okay.
And then the concentration curl for really isolating and peaking the bicep.
I see.
It just shows a really detailed understanding of muscle development.
Yeah, he's not just like, okay, I'm going to do some curls.
Right.
He's like, I'm going to target this very specific part of my bicep.
Exactly. Yeah, he was very intentional
I see.
with his training.
Okay, so triceps,
Mm-hmm.
his approach seemed pretty straightforward,
Yeah.
but effective.
Simple but effective.
Narrow bench presses.
Yep.
Various triceps extensions.
Overhead and down by his sides using 1 or 2 arms.
That's right.
And even bodyweight triceps extensions off a bar. Okay, so again, like simple fundamental movements clearly aimed at hitting the triceps from different angles.
Exactly. We're seeing that focus on basic compound movements and then strategic variations
Okay.
to target the entire triceps muscle group.
I see.
And it's interesting that he includes those bodyweight extensions
Yeah.
because it shows that you can train effectively,
Okay.
even without access to a ton of equipment.
Oh, okay, so you don't necessarily need a fancy gym.
Nope.
All right, now shoulders.
Shoulders. This is a big one.
Oh, yeah.
So he used dumbbell presses, barbell presses, both in front of and behind the neck, military presses, and of course the famous Arnold press.
Of course.
And he makes a point of describing that rotational element of the Arnold press,
Right.
emphasizing how that full range of motion really stretches the front deltoid.
Okay.
And then there were these incredibly intense bent over lateral raises
Okay.
done on a 45-degree bench,
Wow.
a technique he picked up at Vince Gironda's gym
Okay.
with that outward rotation of the wrists to really target the rear deltoids.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And he even shares this story about this one day a week
Okay.
where they would just relentlessly do dumbbell presses with descending weights,
Okay.
going from 110 pounds all the way down to 40 pounds
Wow.
for 6 reps each time.
Oh, my goodness.
He said his deltoids were screaming.
Yeah, I bet.
That kind of descending weight approach is just another prime example of pushing beyond your perceived limits.
Right.
And creating that significant metabolic stress,
Okay.
which can be a really powerful stimulus for growth.
I see.
And the level of detail he goes into about those bent over lateral raises,
Yeah.
the precise bench angle, the
Uh-huh.
wrist rotation.
Right.
It just underscores how much nuance and experimentation went into his training.
Yeah.
He was constantly refining his techniques,
'Cause it sounds like he was always kind of like trying new things and experimenting.
always looking for an edge.
I see. Okay. Legs.
Legs.
Oh, you can't talk about Arnold and not talk about squats.
The king of exercises.
Yeah, he considered rear squats the absolute kings
Yes.
for building massive thighs.
Along with front squats, leg extensions, lunges, stiff leg deadlifts or good mornings, and leg curls.
Okay, so he was hitting it from every angle.
Oh yeah, he had a comprehensive leg routine.
Yeah, and just to keep things interesting
Right.
and provide another way to shock those muscles.
Exactly.
He mentioned occasionally swapping in leg presses.
Just to keep those legs guessing.
Exactly.
So you know all of that variety in his leg training makes sense
Yeah.
because you're hitting all those different muscle groups.
Yeah, he wasn't neglecting any part of his legs.
No, not at all.
Okay, and we can't forget about abs.
Abs.
Regular high-volume ab training was clearly a priority for him.
Oh yeah.
His routine included straight leg raises.
Bent knee leg raises sit-ups. Roman chair sit-ups.
Wow.
With a goal of hitting 500 reps.
500 reps.
And crunches.
That's a lot of ab work.
That's commitment.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
That high-volume approach reflects a real belief in the importance of consistent work
Okay.
for developing those abdominal muscles. You know, while training philosophies around core work have kind of evolved over the years,
Right.
his dedication to regular ab training is undeniable.
Yeah, it's like he just did not quit.
No, he didn't.
So throughout all of this, talking about all these different exercises for all these different muscle groups,
Right.
a key theme that emerges is the importance of intensity
Yes.
in every single set.
Like leaving it all on the gym floor.
Yeah, he wasn't a believer in pacing yourself through a workout or saving energy for later.
Right.
His philosophy was to go all out on every single set.
All out effort every time.
Why was that level of intensity so crucial in his approach, do you think?
So by pushing yourself to near failure on each set,
Okay,
you're maximizing the recruitment of muscle fibers.
I see.
And this greater muscle fiber activation leads to a stronger growth stimulus.
Okay.
Compared to like holding back and not fully challenging yourself.
So it's really about the quality of each set.
Exactly.
It's not just the total number of sets that you're doing.
Yeah, it's about pushing yourself in each and every set.
Now, it wasn't just about the intense training, of course.
Right.
Nutrition played a huge role.
A massive role.
Arnold's rule of thumb was to consume 1 gram of protein for every pound of his body weight.
Wow.
So for a guy weighing 250 pounds,
Yeah.
that meant a staggering 250 grams of protein every single day.
That is a lot of protein.
How did he manage to eat that much?
It takes a lot of dedication.
Yeah.
Arnold mentioned that he would eat 5 meals a day
Okay.
because he wasn't someone who could just eat these massive quantities
Right.
in one sitting.
Yeah.
He described his typical meals as including things like steak,
Okay.
vegetables,
Yeah.
eggs, bacon or sausage,
Okay.
and then some raw vegetables like tomatoes and onions.
So it sounds like he was eating like a pretty balanced diet.
Yeah, pretty balanced.
Okay.
And then to help bridge the gaps between those meals
Right.
and ensure he consistently hit that protein target,
Yeah.
he relied heavily on protein shakes
Okay.
made with milk and protein powder.
So even back then, protein powder was like,
Oh, yeah, it was a staple.
it was a thing.
Yeah.
Okay. And he would drink these twice a day.
Maybe while he was at college during work or
Mhm.
after a late lunch.
I see.
It's interesting to see how even back then using supplements
Right.
was considered a necessary tool.
To support his goals.
Exactly.
So he viewed them as a way to guarantee he was getting enough.
Of those essential nutrients, vitamins, minerals, and most importantly, protein,
Right.
especially when he was pushing his body so hard to build that muscle mass.
Yeah, totally. So he also touched on the pre-competition phase,
Oh, yeah?
where the focus shifts from simply building mass
Right.
to refining the physique
Highlighting in the detail.
and dialing in the details. This involved making adjustments to his diet,
Okay.
incorporating higher reps, adding more exercises, increasing the number of sets.
Right.
But he made it clear that the fundamental principles of training and nutrition
Yeah.
remained constant.
So what was the main goal of those changes in the pre-competition phase?
Yeah. So the pre-competition phase is all about maximizing definition
Okay.
and addressing any lagging areas.
I see.
And his emphasis on honest self-assessment in the mirror
Right.
as a key motivator during this time, I think is really insightful.
Oh, yeah.
It's about constantly evaluating your progress
Right.
and making the necessary adjustments to your training and diet.
To bring your best physique to the stage.
Yeah. So he was really thinking about, how does this look?
Yeah.
What do I need to work on?
He had a very clear vision.
Yeah. And this is a really important point for everyone listening, regardless of your fitness goals.
Okay.
Arnold explicitly says that all of these principles,
Yeah.
the focus on fundamental exercises, those strategic shocking techniques, the emphasis on intensity, the consistent nutritional approach
Yeah.
can be applied by anyone,
That's the core message right there.
even if you're never going to step on a bodybuilding stage.
Absolutely.
That's so cool.
While the extreme examples
Yeah.
and the sheer volume of training might be specific to like elite level competition,
Right.
the underlying principles of progressive overload, consistently challenging your muscles, incorporating variation training with intensity, prioritizing proper nutrition.
Right.
Those are universally applicable.
Yeah.
If you want to build muscle, increase strength, and improve your physique.
Yeah. It's so amazing that he lays all this out in
Yeah.
this pretty short video.
Yeah, he packs a lot in.
He does. He does.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So to quickly recap,
Right.
prioritize those foundational compound exercises.
Yes.
Strategically incorporate methods to shock your muscles
Right.
and prevent them from adapting too quickly.
I keep them guessing.
Bring maximum effort and intensity to every single set that you perform.
Every set counts.
And consistently consume a high amount of protein.
Yes.
Potentially using supplements as a helpful tool.
Exactly.
Now, I think a really enduring lesson here
Yeah.
is that consistent effort
It's key.
and a real willingness to push your body beyond its comfort zone.
You got to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's not just about passively following a workout plan.
Right.
It's about actively engaging with your training, understanding how your body responds,
Being present in your workout.
and constantly looking for ways to challenge yourself.
Yeah. Always looking for that next level.
So I think this is something that everyone listening can take away,
Okay.
whether you're into bodybuilding or not.
Right.
It's this idea of okay, how can I shock myself?
How can you shake things up?
Yeah, how can I shake things up? How can I shock my system to get to that next level?
Exactly.
So think about it maybe you change your rep ranges.
Okay.
Maybe you try a new exercise variation.
Yeah.
Maybe you slightly alter your workout structure.
Do something to get you out of that rut.
Exactly. And I think it's all about finding that balance
Yeah.
between, consistently performing those fundamental movements that work.
Right.
And strategically introducing an element of surprise.
To keep your body adapting and improving.
I love that. So it's like you have your foundation.
Right.
And then you're like, okay, how can I like tweak things just a little bit?
Exactly.
To keep pushing myself forward.
And I think that applies to so many areas of life.
I agree.
It's not just fitness.
Totally.
It's about, having those core principles.
Yeah.
But also being willing to experiment and try new things.
I love that.
To keep growing and improving.
So yeah, find your foundation.
Yeah.
And then don't be afraid to shock it every once in a while.
Shock it up.
Awesome. Thanks for diving deep with me.
This was fun.
This was great.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everybody.
Catch you next time.